So, I rebuilt the starter base in Satisfactory 1.0. Yep, rebuilt the whole thing and then some. And finally, the master plan continues. Step 1, build the starter base starter.
While our starter base gets to work.
Check! Step 2, build the starter base.
Starter base.
Check. Step 3, find out Satisfactory 1.0 is imminent.
We'd recommend starting over 1.0 drops to get sort of the full progression experience.
Okay. Guess I'll wait for 1.0 then. A bit caught off guard by that one, but okay. Anyway, check. Step 4, build the starter base. Again. That sounds easy. In 1.0, they removed some of the resource nodes we used previously, but otherwise, same base, same plan.
72 hours later.
So yeah, I rebuilt the starter base in Satisfactory 1.0, and it is mostly the same. We got Tier 3 drills, Tier 4 belts, smelters, constructors, assemblers, refiners. We got storage, manufacturers, blenders, aluminum. And over here we've got the hub, the shop, the MAM, awesome sink, and a crafting workbox. In the MAM, we now have an alien technology tree. We'll be able to use the summer sloops to boost productivity in our machines. Or we can also get a boost to our power grid with an alien power augmenter. And there's also way more power slugs scattered across the map, making it easier to overclock some things in the early game without worrying about losing track of the power shards I make. So, since we lost a coal node in the update, I'm now overclocking the coal nodes that are still here so that we make up the amount of coal that we lost. Got some splitters and mergers here so that we can balance the inputs and outputs so that we make up the difference that we lost. I've also added some power shards to some machines around the base. In particular, I've juiced up plastic due to some recipe changes. We're now compressing a Tier 4 belt. Previously, I think we didn't even have a Tier 3 belt compressed. And it's all thanks to the copious amounts of power slugs, giving us lots of power shards. And I also added some summer sloops, which doubles our output of supercomputers, as this was one of the bottlenecks I had to worry about. And in addition to all this functional stuff, I also improved the organization of the base. All the belt bundles are significantly more organized now. Ah yes, it's all going exactly to plan. Check. Step 5. Factorio 2.0. Check, I guess. Back to Satisfactory. Quantum. Purple. So on the other side of the alien technology tree in the MAM, we now have a reason to collect the Mercer spheres, which have also been floating around in the game for a very long time, basically from the beginning. So after investing some Mercer spheres, we get to unlock the Dimensional Depot, and then there's a series of upgrades which increase its speed and capacity. So after flying around and locating a number of spheres, we'll also need production of a new item, SAM Fluctuators, which is made from the SAM ore also in the game for a very long time, and now also has a unique function. I have a remote build a short distance from the base making just that, which you can just see in the distance. Enhance. 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 Besides the SAM ore and some crude, there's not much else out here on the edge of the map. There is this one iron node though, so we're using a few alternate recipes to get the things we need. We're using the iron wire recipe and the iron pipe recipe to go directly from iron ingots to the two other byproducts we need. Here's the iron pipe recipe, so we don't need coal, and here is the iron wire recipe, so we don't need copper. Then we turn the basic SAM ore into reanimated SAM, and then those 3 items go into this manufacturer to make SAM fluctuators. So now that we've got Mercer spheres and SAM fluctuators up and running, we can put a whole bunch of dimensional depots right on top of our existing storage. Nice. Now we can access our inventory anywhere, and also build directly from our dimensional depot storage. Useful, convenient, handy, exceedingly purple. Check. Ah yes, it's all coming together. Now we just need a little more power. So in addition to the spheres, the sloops, and the SAM ore, Satisfactory 1.0 added Tier 9, an entire new tier of milestones with new tech and new machines. It is locked currently behind Phase 4 of the project assembly kind of thing. And I've been assembling the parts over here in the adjunct area where we do all the project assembly stuff, and it is finished. I've inserted them all into the space elevator, so let's go ahead and unlock Tier 9. Signed, sealed, delivered. Eventually. Soon. With that out of the way, let's take a look at Tier 9 in the hub. We have 5 new milestones, and we're going to unlock some SAM stuff, which I already unlocked in the MAM, but we'll need to unlock it to get the converter machine, which I don't have yet. Then quantum encoding will unlock the quantum encoder, and the neural quantum processor, and the superposition oscillator. But here's the big one that we really want, the Blueprint Designer Mark III. I will want this for designing the mega base and the huge nuclear power base we'll be working on after we finish the starter base again. And then we can also get portals, and then the other biggie that I really want is Conveyor Belts Mark VI. Unfortunately, these new machines take a ton of power we don't currently have, so we are going to need a stopgap. So here is the starter power that goes along with the starter base, and prior to 1.0, this plus the geothermal generators available on the map was more than enough to run the starter base, to get us through the phase until we did the base glow up, and then we built the nuclear power, and then we could delete this, and make sure everything we built from that point was pretty. This is to get us going. This is the starter power, but it is no longer enough. Currently we have a capacity of 13 gigawatts, more or less, and that's just not gonna cut it. One thing we can do is we can overclock our drills here. Drilling up some coal, we get 2.5 times more coal from each of these guys, but unfortunately we don't have a whole lot of space for water. We'll just have to make do with what we got. Well, that'll help a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There's just not enough space here for the water requirements to increase our power enough. We're only up to 14.5 gigawatts. We're gonna have to look for a different spot. But if we're gonna add a whole bunch of coal power, I don't want to spend a million years building it. Previously, we only had the Blueprint Designer Mark I, previously not even Mark I, just the only Blueprint Designer 4x4 footprint. We don't have the Mark III, but we do have the Mark II, which gives us a 5x5 footprint, and that does make a real big difference. So we can currently fit 4 different coal generators in here. My previous blueprints were only big enough due to the Mark I Blueprint Designer size to put the coal power together in a series of pieces, but with the Mark II, we have enough space in every different dimension to at least hook up the belts and the pipes, which honestly is the most time-consuming part of the whole thing. Oh, it's so easy. Where have you been all my life, Blueprints? In another game, I guess. Okay, some of those are backwards and sideways, but you get the idea. You get the idea. I was trying to do it fast to make it look nice for the video. Turns out I'm gonna have to redo it.
2 hours later.
So, 150 brand spanky new coal power generators, all of this built in less than 2 hours. We've pretty much doubled the amount of power we have access to, and I hope that's enough. Hopefully that gets us through Tier 9 until we start building nuclear power. I'm not sure if all the generators are 100% online yet, but currently we are sitting at about 30 gigawatts of power. Pretty good. Pretty good. Power acquired. Another check. Step 8. Tier 9. So now that we have more power, we can start to tackle Tier 9 and Phase 5. All these recipes here are the recipe chains required to complete Phase 5, a one-time cost. So we're going to build all this stuff in the adjunct area. We'll get to that in a minute. But first we have to look at all the different stuff in Tier 9. We need to be able to build the new machines for the mega base and maybe for the nuclear power setup as well. We got this guy here, which is the quantum encoder. Takes all these guys. It needs time crystals and fix-it trigons, which we're not currently making. Those are nope. We also need to make the converter. That's important. It's going to need the SAM fluctuator, which we already have a build for, so that's a check mark. We just went over that a minute ago. Very important, we want to be able to make the Blueprint Designer Mark III 6x6 grid. That's going to be very important. So again, we'll need time crystals and fix-it trigons. As well, we're going to need this thing, which looks like a purple drink dispenser, the Neural Quantum Processor. And we want to be able to make Tier 6 belts and Tier 6 belt lifts, which again take time crystals and fix-it trigons. So, these are the items we need going to storage so that we can make all those things. This guy is already taken care of, the SAM fluctuator. We need to make fix-it trigons, time crystals, and the purple drink dispenser, the neural quantum processor. This thing needs, you guessed it, the crystals and the trigons. It also needs supercomputers, which we're already making, and this guy, which is excited photonic matter. That's made directly from one of these guys. Converter, I think. Off the top of my head. We can make that directly, or maybe it's a particle accelerator. I forget. But we can make it directly. So that's no big deal. The two we have to add to our base. The fix-it trigon is made from a fixite ingot, and there's a few different recipes you can use. All of them require reanimated SAM, which is made from SAM, which is sparkly and purple. That's very nice. But there's several different recipes, and they all use different types of ingots. The best one uses aluminum ingots. We have a big aluminum build area, and that build is mostly to produce mass loads of Tier 5 belts, so we're not using those ingots at all times. So I think it's okay to just split our ingots in half and use half for this purpose. The time crystals are made out of diamonds. The diamonds have a variety of recipes. We're going to use the alternate recipe that uses crude oil, which is a lot better than the default recipe. And then with those two things being produced, we can also produce our purple drink dispenser. So before we can do any of that, we have two different items we have to deliver to our base. We need additional pipe of crude oil, which is no problem because we are in the part of the map with tons of crude. We also happen to have one of the few pure SAM nodes, which is way over there. So, the SAM and the crude is now on top of the aluminum build. The aluminum ingots are getting made right here. We're going to split them in half, recombine them, bring them up through the floor. We're going to make a reanimated SAM in constructors, then move it as well as the aluminum ingots to this converter to make the fixite ingot. The fixite ingot's going to get turned into a fixite trigon in a constructor. Then in this giant honking power-sucking particle accelerator, we're going to make diamonds out of crude oil. Then those diamonds are going to get converted into time crystals. We also need to make excited photonic matter in converters. We got to turn that stuff into a purple drink dispenser in the machine. I haven't unlocked yet because we got to make this stuff first. Simple, easy. Check. Step 9, complete the tutorial. Nice. So now that Tier 9 is taken care of, it's time to work on completing Phase 5. We needed to complete Tier 9 so that we would have these items available so we could make the machines we'll need for the nuclear power and the mega base we'll be making in the future. We need to complete Phase 5 mainly just to get this stupid UI element off my screen in the top right corner. It's basically like completing the tutorial. So we need to make these 4 items at the top of these 4 columns, these 4 lists of basically recipe chains. So we need 200 ballistic warp drives. We need 256 AI expansion servers. I think they intentionally make these names as confusing and hard to remember as possible. We need 1,000 biochemical sculptors. And we will need 1,000 nuclear pasta, which is already underway, getting crafted over in our annex area where we do all of the space elevator stuff way over there. By the way, there's a long-standing bug within the game that makes these images on these little signs low resolution. It doesn't affect everybody, but it seems to affect me, and it drives me absolutely crazy. Look at this. It looks pathetic. It should look like this, nice and high resolution, but it doesn't. Anyway, we've got some recipe chains. So for the ballistic warp drive, we need 200 of those. And because this is a one-time thing, we're not going to fully automate it. We're just going to deliver some items to some containers and feed them directly into machines. But we will need a lot of stuff. So we'll need 200 thermal propulsion rockets in order to make this guy, the ballistic warp drive. We'll need 200 of those guys, and to make that, we'll need all of these things. 200 turbo motors, 500 modular engines, 600 cooling systems, and 200 fused modular frames. If we put summer sloops in the machine crafting the ballistic warp drives, we'll get a 100% productivity bonus from that machine. Another way to think about it is that we need half as many ingredients as we previously did. Let me go grab this image here. Let me copy this so I can paste it over here. This is my personal notation for this recipe chain display to show that I've already accounted for summer sloops in this chain here. So let's account for it over here, update these guys. If we put summer sloops in the machine making this thing, we need half as many ingredients. So instead of 200 thermal propulsion rockets, we only need 100. And so on and so forth all the way down. We only need 500 singularity cells. And we only need 200 superposition oscillators. And then we only need... Oh, wow. Look at the savings. A mere 4,000 dark matter crystals. No big deal. Now we only need 100 thermal propulsion rockets for this recipe here. We can cut all these guys in half because we need half as many here. But wait, there's more. We can put summer sloops in this guy as well. So not only are we cutting these in half, we're going to cut them in a quarter. We're going to divide by 4. So instead of needing 200 turbo motors, we only need 50. Instead of needing 500 modular engines, we only need 125. Cooling systems, we don't need 600. We need 150. And fused modular frames, we don't need 200. We only need 50. Not 40, 50. There we go. I know how to type. We add summer sloops to every recipe in the chain. All of a sudden, this doesn't seem so bad at all. So the adjunct area over here, where we've been doing all the different phase items, has been working on nuclear pasta for a while I do other things. The whole phase system in the game is easily the weakest part of Satisfactory. I don't find it very interesting. The fact that we have these one-time payments means that we're incentivized not to automate things in an automation game. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this. This area is kind of messy. We're going to delete it as soon as we're done with Phase 5. So we'll just do a few brief updates here. Currently, we've got 769 nuclear pasta here. When we get 1,000, we can dump those in there. This particle accelerator is using a whole lot of power. So we're only working on the one thing at a time. As soon as that's done, we can delete it and start working on the other ones.
3 hours later.
And a little bit later, we're making thermal propulsion rockets with our summer sloop bonus here. A little bit farther down the line, what's this guy making? This guy's making dark matter crystals directly from dark matter residue. Over here, we've got excited photonic matter getting made from scratch. We've got some dump containers here, and we're crafting some superposition oscillators. And this guy is still making the nuclear pasta, because we need extra to make the ballistic missile things, I think.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, and now we're making singularity cells, and these are getting fed into this machine to make our ballistic warp drive. Not currently plugged in, because even with our expanded power, these guys do take a lot of power. We're making dark matter crystals here. We're recycling, trying to contain all of the dark matter residue we get as a byproduct from some of these other processes. This guy is making our AI expansion server. This guy's making photonic matter still. In this container over here, we've got some stockpiled AI expansion servers. Let's dump those in the space elevator. That's 3 out of 4. Now we just have to wait on the missiles.
2 hours later.
And at long last, we're finally done. We're about to get rid of this silly UI element off the top right corner of our screen. Here's all of our ballistic warp drive items. We can dump them into the space elevator. We can be done with this part of the game. We'll have finished the tutorial. We can actually play the game after this. Oh, it's going to be fabulous. Here we go. Who cares? Check. Step the next. Finally, clean up the base. So now that we finally finished the tutorial, we can at long last delete this annex over here, this temporary location for dealing with the space elevator and the different phases of the phase system, the project assembly stuff. It's done. We can get rid of all this. We can dump everything in the awesome sink. We can tidy up the base to get ready for the starter base's final form. Much better. A very satisfying check. Step 11. Synthetic power shards. So the main objective of the starter base is to make all the different items we'll need to make everything after the starter base. The mega base, the nuclear power build, all the rails and belts, and everything else we'll need to make along the way. And in Update 8, this storage area was enough. We had every single thing we needed. But in Satisfactory 1.0, we now have the capability of manufacturing synthetic power shards. We are no longer limited by the amount of slugs on the map.
Research completed. Synthetic power shard recipe unlocked.
So since we now have dimensional depots, we can access our storage literally from anywhere. We're going to set up a new satellite build over here on the edge of the world where it won't get in the way of anything we do in the future. I've got to try to spot the landing. We're looking for one little power tower. Just got to equip my bug suit. Coming in hot here. Close one. So to make synthetic power shards, we don't need very much, actually. We're going to need these quartz crystals right there, that node, and over the edge of this sand dune, we're going to need this patch of coal, and that's it. That's all we need. The quartz we turn into quartz crystals in some constructors, and then the coal we turn into diamonds in a particle accelerator. Then we need excited photonic matter, which we're going to make from scratch in a converter. Also in a converter, we're going to take our diamonds and turn them into time crystals. We're going to send those guys to a quantum, not big enough. The photonic matter, the time crystals, and the quartz crystals will go to this quantum encoder to make our synthetic power shards. We will also need dark matter crystals, and we're going to generate those with a resource loop with the dark matter residue we make as a byproduct of making the power shards. But to get the build going, we're going to seed the system with some dark matter crystals from another part of my base until we can make them with our resource loop. Then we take our dark matter residue and some leftover diamonds, our overflow diamonds, and we make dark matter crystals. Those dark matter crystals go to our quantum encoder to make our synthetic power shards, but there is a chance that the whole system will back up and crash. So we need any overflow dark matter crystals to go to an awesome sink so the whole thing doesn't clog up. Simple, easy, straightforward. Check. Ah yes, the master plan being executed flawlessly without a hitch or a single hiccup. But before the starter base reaches its final form, let's have a small palate cleanser. Let's call it a taste of things to come. So, one more satellite build, this time rocket fuel, which is a new fuel type added in Satisfactory 1.0. We're going to make a small standalone build just for the jetpack, just to give it a little more juice. And the place we're going to make our build is right here in this canyon void pit of doom. So, to make rocket fuel, we're going to use a blender and the alternate nitro rocket fuel recipe. We need fuel, nitrogen gas, sulfur, and coal. The coal is right here on this little precipice. The sulfur is around the corner over there. The nitrogen is right down there. That's why I picked this spot. The fuel we're going to make in a refinery using the basic recipe, which means we'll have some polymer resin as a byproduct. We're also going to have compacted coal as a byproduct. We're going to sink both of those. Then we need to package the fuel, so we have to make aluminum ingots. We're going to start with sloppy alumina and then go to aluminum scrap. The aluminum scrap is going to get turned into an ingot using the alternate recipe pure aluminum ingot in a smelter. Then that goes to a constructor to make an empty fluid tank. Then the rocket fuel and the empty fluid tank goes to a packager to package the rocket fuel. Then we send that to an industrial storage container for buffer storage, and that gets directly inputted into a dimensional depot uploader. But we're playing Satisfactory, we can build vertically, so let's build vertically. So the blender is making the rocket fuel, and the refineries are making aluminum ingots. Then we turn the aluminum ingots into a empty package. Then we package the rocket fuel, and we send it higher, 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 higher still, up into the air, where we put it into storage, and then it gets turned into pure, undiluted quantum. But hey, wait a second. This is Satisfactory, and I've unlocked all the cosmetics. We don't have to build like this anymore. We can make our builds look nice.